Okay, we're back for part two of the Cartoon Heroes tier list. This is starting on the C's. I believe we got the A's and B's completed last time. Don't think we missed any that I could tell. All right, C's start with Kaba. Kaba is a character in Dragon Ball Super. He is from the whatever universe. I never remember what universes they're from, but it's like 7 and 8. And this is 7, or we're 7 and they're 8, something like that. And he's the young Saiyan from the other group and fights Earth's folks from our universe. And he's a good kid, good dude, trying to like figure out how to become Super Saiyan. Vegeta kind of mentors him a bit, which is cool. And he's cool enough character to have around. I'd probably have him a little lower though. There, I want to say. There's another character on the show who I liked a lot that I wasn't able to get a picture of, and I may still try to get it, but it's Khalifa, I think is her name, or Khalifa, however you pronounce it. I don't see her here, but she's like intertwined with Kaba, and I remember her picture not working. All right, Cable. His head's cut off here, but I can tell by his gun. This is from X-Men. Cable is a really cool time traveling character too, like Bishop. Um, he fights Apocalypse a lot. He has a son who he kind of had to abandon in his efforts to get there. I do like him a little bit more than Bishop, but barely. Like they're both fun characters, and I like them when they're both in the show together. He is the son of some future version of like Scott Summers with Cyclops and Jean Grey, but Madeline Pryor. They explain all that within X-Men 97. It's a good show. Some people may not like it because it's new, but it's good. All right, Calamity Coyote is the Wile E. Coyote of Tiny Toons. He, if I recall, invents stuff and it always fails. So whereas Wiley seems to purchase everything from Acme, I think Calamity is like building stuff. I could be wrong, but it's what it felt like. But yeah, he always kind of does the same thing and messes up. He was cool enough. I enjoyed him in the show. Um, let's just have him around here with Byron. I don't think he talked, if I recall. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, Callie Briggs. Callie Briggs is a from SWAT Cats. She is the I don't know the she's not the mayor. I don't think she's like the deputy mayor or something. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But good female character. She's kind of the main female character. I'd have her in the cool enough category, maybe kind of like Angela here, but I liked her a little bit more. In fact, I'll have her a little above Bo. She was a character that kept the show together a little bit at times. All right, Captain America. Captain America from Earth's Mightiest Heroes, probably in Avengers Assemble and all these other things. But I like this version of Captain America. This is the Captain America I like, again, more than Marvel movies and other stuff. This is just quintessential Steve Rogers, responsible, good, tries to do right. He's an awesome character when he's portrayed correctly. So I will have him up up here. We'll move stuff around, but he's awesome. All right, Captain Atom. Captain Atom is in Justice League. Not much to say here. He's just a side character. I think he's an Unlimited. I remember him like losing his cosmic essence, and they had to fill him back up. He was like in a tank or something. But he's a strong hero, fights in space kind of deal. Cool enough, nothing special. I'd have him like below Wannabes here. All right, Captain Caveman. I think he was on the Flintstones to start, and then had his own show. Could be wrong, but he has the club, like I mentioned with Bam Bam in the last video. I like Captain Caveman a lot. He flies with the club out front. I'd have him in the barely not awesome category. I don't think he's like my favorite, but let's just throw him in around here for now. Why is Shazam so far up? Because it is Captain Marvel, which they had to like change the name because of legal reasons. But this is Captain Marvel slash Shazam from Justice League. So it's Billy Baston or whatever. He gets, you say Shazam, he gets struck by lightning, and then he turns into like Superman-ish character. He looks a lot like Superman in the show. which to me felt a little repetitive, and you don't really see his Billy version a ton. So I'd have him more in the cool enough section, but he is a cool character, and he was fine in the show. Uh, I'll probably have him around just above like Brave Star, for example. Didn't have a whole lot more to him, I don't think. Captain Planet. Captain Planet is formed by using the rings, and he comes out. Again, why aren't we just doing it at the start every time? I don't know. It's the same thing with like Voltron or Power Rangers. Why aren't we just forming Voltron right away? Why aren't we just sending Captain Planet out there right away? So Captain Planet, once he gets formed, is very powerful. He stops pollution, probably inspired a generation of taking care of the Earth, which I enjoyed Captain Planet. I enjoyed the show. And I'd have Captain Planet in like my barely not awesome category. He was a little cheesy at times to me. So I'm going to have him maybe around there. Could move. All right. Cartman, Eric Cartman, certainly no hero, right? In terms of his worldview, how he treats people, he's pretty darn awful in most regards. You could call him a villain, but he is like a protagonist of South Park. It's always fun to see him get his own as well. He is a supreme character, though, much like some of these other characters, and I will have him toward the top of the supreme. He might move, but he is certainly an iconic character. All right, Chitara. Old Thundercats, new Thundercats. Chitara. Something I did not realize. So I went back and watched the Thundercats from the first episode. So they're like escaping their exploding planet. They're on the ship. They're naked. I mean, best I can tell. Like, unless they're wearing something. Now, you don't see anything specific. They're cats, but it's like they're naked. Because they get their clothes. Like, they show them getting their clothes. So anyway, yes, if you ever care, the original episode of Thundercats, go check it out. But Chitara is in it, and Chitara is an awesome character. I do like Chitara a lot. She's a strong, good, reliable person on the show. She's a little older than like Lion-O, because Lion-O's a kid and then grows up fast. But she's like a good kind of mentor as a girl too, to even him. So she's awesome for sure. Kind of reminds me a little bit of this Ashi type area. So we'll start there. All right, we have Cheryl or Carol or whatever the hell her name goes by, depending on the episode. An archer. She's funny. She's like insane, literally insane. Causes tons of problems, and even becomes like a country star at some point, and it's just all bizarre. But she's fine. I mean, I don't watch the show for her certainly, so I wouldn't have her very very high, but probably higher than some of these folks because she's funny. Let's start around there. All right, Chaozu. Chaozu is in Dragon Ball Z. Starts off as kind of a villain. He's like in the Crane School or something and fights in the tournament. And he, I don't remember like what his specific power. If it was the Light Flash, I think Tien did that. But anyway, just kind of a weird doll looking thing, right? Always looked weird. And then he grabbed on to one of the bad guys. I think it was the Cybermen or whatever, and like sacrificed himself and blew himself up. And then comes back, but he's like good friends with Tien. He was never my favorite on the show because he was always kind of weak. I preferred him when he was more in the tournament and weird, so I didn't like Chaozu all that much. I'd have him in my like don't really care about category, honestly. If he's in the show, fine, but I never noticed him. Now, he sacrificed himself. I mean, that's a good thing. I'd put somebody else high with that, but different character. All right, Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z as well. She fights in the tournament. She ends up marrying Goku, has Gohan, Goten, and whatever else. Strong-willed character, again, like Bulma. Very cool character. I will have her up here. Kind of mean, but always with a good heart. Not perfect, right? Which is awesome. Chicken Boo. Chicken Boo's from Animaniacs. Is Chicken Boo a villain? Is Chicken Boo a hero? Who knows? All he's trying to do is be human, or as human as he can be. So he just dresses up, and he dresses up in different costumes. And the whole point of the show is nobody can tell except one person. And the one person is always like saying, dude, that's a chicken. And then everybody's like, dude, you're crazy. He's like the coolest person we got. He's the coolest kid at the school. He doesn't talk. He's a chicken. And then so every now and then you'll like see him pick up food or something. The guy's like, see? And then at the end, his cover gets blown and he has to go find somewhere else. I love Chicken Boo. I think Chicken Boo's great. I'd have him in my awesome category. Does he have the depth of some of the other characters? No. But he is funny. I'm going to have him up by Bullwinkle for now. All right, Chip from Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Chip is kind of the leader, I guess, of them, and the smarter, more responsible, adventurous one. Dale's the comic relief. So Chip, I like. And Chip I'd have in the Barely Not Awesome category. He's responsible and cool and fun. Let's have him, and some of these are going to move around, I can tell, like once I get going. But we'll have him in that Barely Not Awesome category. Chopper. So I didn't include like R2-D2 and C-3PO and some others from Clone Wars or whatever they were in, somewhat because they had already been like on the original show and that was just them getting thrown into this. Chopper's an original, and Chopper is a like an R2 type unit from Rebels, and he's got these two little arms that kind of come out, these two little grippers that come out that you can see barely. But he's hilarious. Like his character, and it's not the humor that I hate in Star Wars sometimes, like the prequels and stuff, where it's like, oh, it's so goofy and dumb that it's like you literally just did. It's like he's got a personality and it's sarcastic, and you get a little bit more of that R2 has, but in his own way. And I like Chopper a lot. I'd have him in the Barely Not Awesome category, maybe right around Butthead here. All right, Chris Griffin and Family Guy. I'm not a huge Chris fan. Like, I appreciate him being on the show and I appreciate the character. He's one who's like fine, but he's not my favorite. And I just don't really care when he's on the show, but I will put it there, or if it's one of the episodes about him. Cleveland Brown. Had his own show. I didn't put those characters in here. I did see like an episode or two of that. But Cleveland Brown is Family Guy. Like Peter's one of his best friends. He's cool. Like Cleveland's fun. He's fun to have on the show. He's fun to watch him, interact with the other guys. I'd have Cleveland in the cool enough category for sure, and he may move around, but I like Cleveland. All right, Cliff Jumper. Cliff Jumper looks a little like Bumblebee, and you're like, who's Cliff Jumper? I don't think I've seen him in the new Transformers movies. Maybe he was. I think he might have been Transformers 1. Could be wrong. Cliff Jumper was voiced by a famous voice back in our day growing up, Casey Kasem, who used to do a top 40 countdown of all the songs that were good back when music was actually good. And Cliff Jumper was a cool character. He had like a nice little attitude about him, and Casey Kasem did a really good job with his voice. I would have him in my Barely Not Awesome category. He was brave, small, but fought. Cool guy. Let's just have him right around there. All right. I'm assuming this is Clumsy Smurf. Clumsy Smurf bumbles, falls around, all that stuff. Comedic relief. I don't remember him a ton. I'd have him maybe down kind of toward the bottom of cool enough. I mean, you just remember him being clumsy, but nothing more around him. All right, Colossus. Colossus is one of the underused X-Men on X-Men, the animated series. He's in a couple of episodes, a few episodes. He's got a nice Russian accent. Strong dude, fun when he fights like Juggernaut. But he's not in it enough. And it's like, gosh, they just kind of underused some of these guys, and I wish they'd have done more. Like Angel, but I do like him more than Angel. So I'll put him right there in the cool enough. Commander Stargazer, Silverhawks. I think it's Commander. I do know it's Stargazer. Commander makes sense alphabetically. So we'll go with that. Commander Stargazer is the kind of organizer of the Silverhawks, not necessarily the leader out in the field, but the one who's like their, come home and debrief guy, which he's fine. I don't remember him a ton, but you can tell the suspenders, the tie, that he's that responsible guy. I'd probably have him kind of like Bulletproof and maybe a little bit more better than Bulletproof. Copper Kid. Copper Kid is the kid who sounds funny on Silverhawks. He's copper looking. But the thing I remember about Copper Kid more than anything was at the end, I think I referenced this in another video, they'd have like a trivia type thing, or where they would teach you something, and it was a computer, and he would go sit in front, and he would interact with the computer, and they teach you about like, what we thought we knew about space at the time, which I thought was really cool. And so Copper Kid was fun in that regard. On the show, he wasn't my favorite, so I'd have him like in the cool enough category. Let's just have him right by Stargazer. But Stargazer, I remember his personality a bit more than Copper Kid. All right, Corsair, X-Men, animated series. Cyclops' dad, Havoc's dad, kind of abandons him. Has to at first. They like have to jump out of a plane, and they thought they crashed, or the kids thought they crashed and died, the parents. So anyway, they got like beamed aboard a starship or something, and then the whole question is like, well, why the hell did you never come back, right? Like, you never checked on the kids, or what? Like, couldn't convince him to. So anyway, he had to try to justify that a little bit. I don't think he did a very good job, but he was cool enough as a character. Had a little bit more to do than maybe a Captain Atom, so I'll just have him down here. All right, we've got Courage, the cowardly dog. Courage is cowardly. He gets scared by almost anything. He lives in the middle of nowhere with the Muriel and, I can't remember the guy's name. He's awful and mean. I'm sure I'll think of it. But anyway, Eustace and Muriel. So Courage gets wrapped up in all this stuff, and he has to end up saving Muriel and Eustace, who hates him, from a lot of stuff. And so he's a great character. That's a great show. Like, it's a fun show to watch. And I would have Courage up in my awesome category, pretty high. And don't know if he'll stay right exactly there, but he's a fun character. Breaks the fourth wall, talks to you, sometimes gives a little bit of a snippet of comic relief. So it's good. All right. Creeper. Batman. Maybe. Justice League. I think he's in like Brave and the Bold, but I can't remember which one's which. He's fine as a character. He's kind of like Wannabeast to me, but he doesn't sacrifice himself. But he's like a journalist who ends up kind of going nuts, runs into a vat of something. So he was like a good guy who turns into a superhero. But he's cool enough. I enjoyed him on the show. I kind of wish he was on more. He had like one good episode about him. All right, Cyborg. Cyborg is in Justice League, but I think this is maybe more Young Justice. Yeah, because it had a lot to do with those cubes that like Darkseid had. But anyway, Cyborg was a fun character. I wouldn't say he was like my favorite, but he was fun. He's cool enough. I probably have him just above Shazam, for example. That's probably a good spot. Cyclops. Cyclops is an X-Men. This gets to a point where some people, like, I have a different personality than some people, and I don't know what formed it, but it's like I have more sympathy for the kind of a-hole leader trying to keep everybody organized that gets frustrated with other people not following directions, maybe because I am a leader at work. I don't know. But Cyclops is one of those where it's like there's probably some people who are like, oh, he's such a pain in the you know what, and he sucks, and so like we shouldn't put him high. Disagree. Like Cyclops a lot. One of my favorite X-Men. I'm gonna have him up toward the top in the awesome category too. He can move, but I like Cyclops Scott a lot. Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny go back and forth a lot. Daffy struggles with Elmer and Yosemite as well. He tends to be a little bit more of the butt of the joke, getting hurt and all the other things that maybe Bugs doesn't always get. but he's funny. He's good comic relief. He's not at the level of Bugs Bunny to me, but I'll have him down in the awesome category for sure. He's a fun character. Let's just throw him right by Brian. All right, we got Dale Gribble, King of the Hill. Dale's always smoking. He's got his wife that I can't remember her name, and then he's got Joseph, who isn't really his son, that he kind of thinks is his son. I don't know if they ever resolved that or what that whole thing was about. But Dale's funny. He's loyal, but he screws stuff up and causes problems. But I have Dale in my barely not awesome. I like him more than like Boomhauer, and more than some of these characters. So I'm gonna have him just below like Cliff Jumper here. All right, Dale, Chippendale. The comic relief, the kind of, he's got his like Hawaiian shirt on here. I like Dale a lot too. I don't know that I like him as much as Chip. But I'm going to keep them together for now and have them facing each other. Again, that's a little bit of that like mindset of like, well, Chip's the responsible one. Like, dude, just stop screwing things up for 5 seconds and we might be fine. All right. Daphne from Scooby-Doo. Like Daphne a lot. I like Scooby-Doo a lot, the show. I'd have Daphne in my barely not awesome category probably as well. Let's have her just above like Blade. So she has a good personality on the show. She's obviously hot too on the show, and she's like not stupid, right? So she helps part of solving it. It's not like a damsel in distress thing again, where it's like, oh, here she is, and then Velma's the smart one who figures things out. It's like, no, they do a good job of balancing, solving the mystery and having good interactions together. So she's good on that show. All right, Daredevil. I struggle to remember. I mean, I know he's in Spider-Man a little bit, and then I could not remember if he was on like Earth's Mightiest Heroes. He's a great character. Like Daredevil's super cool. And he's cool on the show. I enjoyed him in the spot that I saw him in. I'd have him as an awesome character, but I cannot remember if he's in anything else to even make him higher. But I'd have him probably around Bishop here. Just Matt Murdock's a really cool character in the cartoons as well. All right, Darkwing Duck. Bit of a spinoff of DuckTales. But he's a superhero, and Darkwing Duck is something I need to see again, because what I don't remember is like how competent he is versus how much he gets saved by his supporting cast. But he does have some good villains. It is a fun show. I'd have Darkwing Duck in my barely not awesome category. If I watched it again, I might have him higher, but I'd have him maybe up. Let's just throw him right above Daphne. All right. This is Dave. Dave from Alvin and the Chipmunks. I always felt bad for Dave because Dave kind of adopted them and he had to deal with their shenanigans. And it's like, could you guys just calm down for 5 seconds? People our age at this point know that more with like kids around. But Dave is cool enough. Like, I wouldn't say he's like my favorite, but I did think he was good. I'm going to put him just above Alvin because I liked his responsibility. Dazzler wasn't really in X-Men much. I'd say I didn't really care about her. It was a weird episode or two she was in where like Cyclops was kind of, I think, starting something with her, but he was with Jean Grey. I don't remember. But yeah, it's she's a cool character. I wish she was in it more because she is, I think, more prevalent in the comics. They kind of replaced her with Jubilee, so she's fine though. Didn't really care about her in the show though. All right, Deadman. Deadman is in Justice League. He is dead, and he like goes into people's bodies and can control them for some amount of time. He's cool enough. I do like it when Deadman's on the show, kind of like Captain Atom, where it's like, oh, if he's on, cool. If not, it's fine. But he's cool enough. All right, Dee Dee. Dee Dee is Dexter's brother on Dexter's Laboratory, and Dee Dee causes a lot of trouble. It's the one who gets into his lab. Somehow this dude has created like all the security measures in the world, yet his sister is able to get in there. She's a great big sister where she kind of takes care of him and, does what a big sister does, but picks on him and other things. And she's also like a dancer. And I remember her like having a competition with a neighbor dancer, the villain, whatever. But I like Dee Dee. Dee Dee's got a lot of spunk to her. She's a little like the Powerpuff Girls to me. I'm going to have her just above them because I like her curiosity and shenanigans. All right, Dende. Dende is the kind of replacement Earth protector or something from Dragon Ball, like when Kame goes away. So he comes from Namek, the other planet. He's a young guy. He's got to learn the ropes a bit. But he is good and he does his job well. Is he the most interesting character in the world to me? Not really, but he is good at what he does. So I will just have him. I got him a little higher than maybe some of these. Yeah, let's put him right above Ace. All right, Dennis. Dennis the Menace. Somebody who causes trouble, right? Comes from the comics. The show was fun. The cartoon was fun. Dennis is fun. I should have put Ruff in here probably, but Ruff I don't think made the cut. But Dennis is fun. I've got him in my probably my barely not awesome category. If I watch the show more again, I might move him up. But I did like the show a lot. There's a similar one that I think I didn't get the picture of again. I'll see if I can get a picture on here later. But it's like Bobby from Bobby's World. So those kind of shows were on when I was a kid. Okay, there's Dexter. So we had Dee Dee. Dexter is the genius, the boy genius who gets frustrated with the stupidity of the world around him, with his sister, with his parents, but he still loves them. And he still, tries to do the right thing ultimately in the end, learns some lessons and stuff. I like Dexter a lot. Dexter, I'd probably have Dexter in my awesome category, up toward the top here. We'll see where he ends up. I wish I could remember more of like specific episodes with him, but he had a cool accent too. Little like it's not the same, but it's a little like the Despicable Me guy, Gru. Deflator Mouse. So Deflator Mouse is the Batman ripoff from The Tick, and he is a wuss that always tries to run away from trouble or come up with excuses to not fight. He's a fun character. I do like Deflator Mouse when he's on there. I'm going to have him in the barely not awesome category. Kind of like American Made. I mean, she's more responsible than him, but they're fun to have on the show. All right, Dino. Flintstones. He's the pet. He's the dog. Dino wasn't my favorite. Like I just never really cared, but he wasn't bad. So I'm going to have him toward the end of the cool enough. Like I remember him on the show. I remember him being an important part of the show, but I wasn't one of those like, oh, Dino's on. This is great. Okay. Dizzy Devil. Dizzy Devil was fun. I'd have him in the cool enough as well. Tiny Toons, cause trouble, spin around, run into stuff. Tasmanian Devil, little version. Let's have Dizzy kind of around Alvin, like right below Alvin. Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate is in Justice League for sure. I want to say he's in Young Justice as well because they got to like figure out a younger person to get the helmet. Or maybe I'm thinking of a movie. I always get those confused. But no, I think it was Young Justice because there was like a Clarion character and all this other stuff. Dr. Fate's cool, but it's more or less like the helmet and the personality that it drives into the person. Just kind of real somber and cool. I'd probably have him maybe just around Angel. Okay, not going to remember this guy's name, but it's something like Dondo, I think. Dondo's one to me that I didn't really like that much, and I don't know why as a kid. I'm going to have as that kind of trash. He was on Herculoids. So Herculoids was, I think it was his own standalone cartoon after a while, but it was on with Space Ghost for sure. And there's like a guy and a girl, and then the monsters that they fight with that are on their side. So we'll see some of them. But the kid, I just always was like, oh, stupid kid, get out of the way. Like, I don't need a coming of age story. I need to see the monsters fight and the cool people fight. So I'm just going to have him toward the bottom. I'm sure it's nothing really wrong with him, but it's my perspective. All right, we have Dot, Animaniacs. So you had Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. And Dot was the sassy sister who was funny and cute and always told you how cute she was. I'd have her in the barely not awesome category, kind of around Babs, but I like them a little bit better. So I'm going to put her above Captain Planet. Doug. Doug's a tricky one. I didn't have Nickelodeon, so I didn't see it all. I would catch some of it during basketball camp, and then I would catch when I was like out of town, and then it ended up on ABC or some major network, different opening theme song and stuff. But I saw enough of Doug to like get a sense of him. He's like a good guy, right? Just the good kid, good guy. Was he my favorite? Not really. Probably have him around here if I watched the show more again, or invested myself in it from the start to the finish. Maybe there's an overarching theme. I don't know, but I remember more of the other characters too in it as well. Okay, we have Dove from Justice League. So there's Hawk and Dove, blue guy, red guy. Whole concept is one's like defensive, the other's offensive. Hawk and Dove, war and peace. And so Dove is the blue one. You can see he's a little smaller. You'll see that once we get the Hawk. But Dove was fine. They were a cool partnership and pairing. I would have them in like the cool enough category. Probably a little lower than these two. Dr. Scratch and Sniff. You could again argue: are these people villains? Based or antagonists, or are they positive and good? I like Dr. Scratch and Sniff. He has to deal with the Animaniacs kids all the time and try to like keep them in check, and he's their doctor, and you feel bad for him sometimes. It's like, oh gosh, all the stuff he has to put up with, but I think he actually cares about them. And there's some episodes where you see that dynamic, which is cool. And he just has to put up with a lot of crap. So I've got him in the barely not awesome category. He's fun. Let's just throw him toward the bottom of that. Okay, this is Dr. Light from Justice League. Kind of a throwaway character, didn't really have a whole lot of personality. I think there's a version in Young Justice they started to do more with that I liked, because the Dr. Light character is like a persona, and I think the original version was a villain, and this younger version is the hero. I don't remember if they like really went into like why you get the mantle of being Dr. Light, but that's what I wish would have been explored a little bit more. But I like the character. It was like a fun kind of side quest. So I'll put him in the cool enough. All right, we have Dr. Light again, but this is Dr. Light from Mega Man, the cartoon. I like Dr. Light. I like he was good in the games too. The games only have a little bit of story, right? You never really see anything other than the blurbs of them talking. But Dr. Light was responsible, good, wanted the best for humanity. And he was good on the show and a nice guy, similar to Dr. Scratch and Sniff, and I'll have him just below in the barely not awesome. Oh, great picture here of Droopy, the dog, who is super lazy and just always talks real slow. But Droopy's fun, and I like Droopy, and he's like a Hanna-Barbera character. I'll have him in the barely not awesome category. There's another show. There's like Tom and Jerry Kids, where it's Droopy and Dripple, where I like him in that show too, and that's why I was like slowly moving him up a little bit. Let's just put him right there for now and stop thinking about it. All right, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was in Spider-Man a bit, I think, and then Earth's Mightiest Heroes, maybe not. Wasn't in it a ton or too much for me to care, so it's not like a reflection of Doctor Strange as a character in the Marvel universe, but he was okay. And he reminds me a little bit of Dr. Fate, but I think Dr. Fate had a little bit more of an impact in his world. Now, again, I need to go back and rewatch Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It's been a while. All right. We have Duke from G.I. Joe. So I mentioned this, I think, maybe in the last one. G.I. Joe I watched again as I got older. I didn't see a ton of it as a kid. I saw like bits and pieces only on Saturday morning. You miss every other episode or something. Duke was one I thought like was my favorite. I was like, oh man, Duke. And you remember, yeah, the action figure, Duke, his blonde hair and everything. Then I watched the show and I'm like, he's okay. He's kind of okay. He's fine. I mean, he's a good G.I. Joe and he's a good character for G.I. Joe. But he's not like my favorite. Now, I do think he's barely not awesome. Like, I do like the character, but we'll see kind of where that ends up here in a little bit. So, next to Dale for now. All right, this is Dino Mud. I mentioned him earlier with Blue Falcon. Dino Mud got on my nerves a lot because he was the goofy, mess things up dog with like Inspector Gadget arms. I don't think I'd say he's trash. I don't know. I think I would. Could be totally wrong about that. Like if I threw on Blue Falcon and Dynamite, I might find Dynamite super funny now. But I remember being on like the Laugh Olympics and stuff. And I'm just like, gosh, this do something right once. You know, it's kind of the mindset. All right. I know I said I was going to go through the D's, but we're doing good on time. So we're going to keep rolling. I don't know how many I have with each letter for sure. All right. We have Echo. Echo is in The Bad Batch, which is a continuation of Clone Wars. This was a group of clones that did not have Order 66 or whatever programmed into them, like that they were discarded because they were errant clones, but survived. And so Echo was one. Echo was one I didn't really care about. Bad Batch had some decent characters, but Echo was one that I was like, okay, it's fine, you're here. So I'd probably have him down by like Chaozu. All right, Egon. Ghostbuster, real Ghostbusters, not Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters. Two different cartoons. Egon was one of my favorites in the old cartoon. I'm going to have him in the awesome category. Maybe like around Beast. I liked probably a little bit more than Beast, but Egon was the smart, wise version or person within the Ghostbusters, and he was always a fun one. I liked how they did his hair and everything too. He's a cool looking character. All right, this is Eliza. I mentioned her in the last one. Gargoyles. She's the like detective or something that supports the Gargoyles, knows they exist, and is trying to help them. She's a good character. I didn't watch the show enough. She reminds me a little bit of like Callie Briggs, and I think I liked her a little bit more than Callie even. So that's about where I'll have her for now. Fittingly, we have cut off, I think, Elongated Man a bit. So Elongated Man stretches like Mr. Fantastic. He is, I believe, in Justice League is where I mostly remember him. I think he was in like Batman Brave and the Bold or something as well. But Elongated Man, I didn't really know this about, but he's more of a detective than I knew. I thought he was just a stretchy guy. But there was one episode where I think he was on like the D team of the Justice League with Booster Gold and like had to tell Booster, it's like, yeah, dude, we're not that powerful. Like deal with it. Like we're having to put out fires or something. So anyway, Elongated Man was better than I thought. I'll have him as cool enough. He did a little bit more than Dr. Light and probably a little bit more than Dove. So I'll have him there. A little less than Dead Man. Elroy from the Jetsons. His boy Elroy, who was good kid, tried to do the right thing, learned lessons, prototypical like all-American future kid. I liked Elroy. I liked Elroy more than like Bam Bam. I thought Elroy had more of a personality, and I'd have him in the higher version of Cool Enough for sure. So let's throw him around Bo up here. Okay, tough one. Eren Yeager. Need to go back and watch Attack on Titan again because, man, the psychology of it gets a little trippy at the end. So Eren is the protagonist for almost the first 3/4 of the show, if not more. You feel terrible for him. His like family was killed, and he's got all these issues and stuff. But then he becomes like the worst thing in the world, and the whole plot is trying to like stop him. But in the end, I think it resolves and brings him back. He's a very great character. I'd have him in the awesome category for sure as a well written, like good character. Um, let's have him around these folks for now. We'll see. All right, this is Etrigan, the demon. He is good, bad, kind of anti-hero deal. You have to say some kind of special thing. The guy who is him says it, and then he turns into Etrigan, the demon. And I think it rhymes. I think it's like a limerick or something. But anyway, Etrigan, he's kind of cool. Like, he's better than some of these other Justice Leaguers. I think that's the show I mostly remember him on. He was in some like Justice League Dark stuff with Constantine and some other things. But I like Etrigan. I think he's a fun personality on the show. I'll have him kind of by Aqualad up here. Okay, this is Ezra. Ezra from Rebels. Ezra's like the main protagonist. He's like the Luke Skywalker, if you will, the kid who needs some guidance and becoming a Jedi, becomes powerful, more powerful, those types of things. Rebels was a show that well exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to be dumb. Liked the characters. Ezra was not one of my favorites. Chopper was in it. I mentioned him before. But Ezra was cool enough. I still think there were stronger characters in the show, though. Let's put him around Elroy. That's fine for now. Okay, we're in the Fs. We're going to keep moving. Falcon. So Falcon is in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, probably in Avengers Assemble. He's now Captain America in the movies. Whatever. But Falcon, I liked Falcon. He's kind of done well within the show because he's got, I don't know what you call them. They're like virtual wings almost, right? And then he's got Red Wing, which is like a robot version of Red Wing. And he's actually kind of cool. So I'd have him in the cool enough category. He's probably like a Blue Beetle, maybe a little less than Blue Beetle. All right. G.I. Joe, again, character I totally forgot about somehow in the original time I watched it and then watched it again. And this dude's awesome. He's one of my favorites. His name's Flint. Flint is the guy who I thought Duke was, where he's not the leader of everything, but he is, you know what? Hold on. I have to correct myself. It is not. It just looks like him because he's got the same beret on. This is not Flint. I will move to Flint right here. So Flint is one of my favorites. And Flint was key in a lot of the episodes. He worked with Lady J a lot. Has a good back and forth with Cobra Commander quite a bit. So I've got Flint up in my awesome category. He's kind of like Cyclops to me, so I'm going to have him here. The guy who looks like him, and it's not him, is actually Falcon, Captain Falcon. And Captain Falcon comes in later. He is like the leader of the G.I. Joes, more of like just directing what everybody should do and not so much like doing battle himself. Captain Falcon was okay. He's no Flint. So Captain Falcon I'm having the cool enough category. Let's do him like right around Bobby here. Okay. All right. Sorry for the mix-up, but I noticed it didn't look just like him. All right. Fifi. Fifi is the Pepe Le Pew of Tiny Toons, but she's a girl. And she's cool. I like Fifi. She's fun on the show. Always obviously makes her stink as a skunk. I'd have her maybe just around Elroy as well for now. Okay, these are the fire folks. So Fire, this is Fire from Justice League. There's Fire and Ice. This is Fire. She's Brazilian. She's a sassy Brazilian character that flirts with the Flash, I think, a good bit. She's cool enough. She's got a little more sass than like Dr. Light here, and probably Dove. So I'm going to put her just below Elongated Man. Then we have Firestorm. Firestorm is definitely in Justice League a little bit, but I want to say is in another show, and I can't remember if it's Batman Brave and the Bold or Young Justice, maybe both. Point is it's two personalities combined into one. These two guys, one's like the student and one's the professor or the teacher, end up merging together into Firestorm. It's kind of fun, and they have whatever show I'm thinking of. They have at least one or two fun episodes where you get to see that. So I think they have a little bit more of the dynamic than some of these folks. I'll have them maybe ahead of Black Vulcan here. All right, Fisto. Fisto, I think, is He-Man. Again, She-Ra, He-Man gets mixed up, but a lot of times the guys are the He-Man people. I don't remember his personality a ton. I just remember his giant fist. Like, it is the thing that I remember in the show. I'll have him as cool enough at the bottom because I don't remember enough, but when he came on, I'm like, ooh, Fisto. I believe that's his name. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. All right, Flash. Flash is in Justice League. Flash is a great character. They nailed Flash. It's the best version of Flash. I'll have him in Awesome. I think I'll have him right above Captain America. He's like powerful, but he's like also messes up. He's good personality-wise, working with the other Justice League members. Has a lot of cool episodes. So like I like Flash a lot. Oh man, forget his name. Animaniacs, it is Flavio. I think it's Flavio. Yeah, Flavio. So Flavio and the wife, and I'm not going to get her name. I might have to see where she falls in the alphabetical order for it to kick in. I think it starts with an M. Flavio and anyway, it's a couple of hippopotamus. They're on Animaniacs. I just remember them for being like very lovey-dovey with each other and like taking their clothes off. And cartoons were different when we were kids than they are now. They weren't my favorite on the show, but it was just a little diversion in the show, and it was fine. It was fun. So I'll have him in the cool enough, maybe just below Dino. All right, this is Flim Flam from the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Flim Flam is like a kid that's a beggar or like he'll go steal stuff, a thief on the street maybe, something like that they run into and ends up joining the gang. And for some, he's good-hearted, good kid and all that stuff. So I don't know why he was in that position, but he's a nice little add to the dynamic. I don't know that I really cared for him all that much. I'll put him like in Cool Enough because it was a change and he had a different, for some reason, like in 13 Ghosts, you had like Scooby and Shaggy and Scrappy and Daphne. I always thought like Fred was with Daphne and Daphne was, anyway, no Velma. So, oh well. All right. This is where these She-Ra characters confuse me. So this is Flutterina, I think. Yes, Flutterina. And so Flutterina shows up and kind of gives me about the most annoying voice that I think I remember on the show, if I'm thinking of the right one. So I'm going to have Flutterina down in my kind of trash area next to Dynamite. Hate to do it. I did it with the villains a little bit, but she wasn't my favorite. If I'm not mixing her up with somebody else. All right, Forager. Forager's from Young Justice. I don't even remember what planet he comes from, but he always calls himself Forager, and he's kind of cool personality. I like Forager. So I'd have him in the cool enough category, probably like around Dende. He's a fun character. Kind of naive at times and learning things, so those are fun to see. All right, Forge. Forge is in X-Men 97 as well, I believe. Leads X Factor, also has a future self that puts people back in time. He's an important character, and I like Forge. He's not in it enough to really like be there, but I'll have him with the doctors, Dr. Light and Dr. Scratch and Sniff, and I'd probably have him just above Dr. Light. He's got a more important role to play, like in X-Men '97, where he does have like a romantic relationship with Storm in an episode. I honestly don't remember. It wasn't all that long ago, but I don't remember like what that ended up becoming. Okay, so that was Forge. This is Foulmouth. Foulmouth's from Tiny Toons. All I remember about Foulmouth is he'd cuss, and you wouldn't hear it. It would just beep him out, right? But it would like stub his toe or something, and it would dot 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 dot. And he just was like, "Whoa!" Everybody else like, "Whoa!" So Foulmouth was kind of funny. I don't know that he like played a super significant role beyond that, but I'd have him cool enough. Let's have him by Cheryl. See how we're doing on time. Okay, we're still good. I'll do. Let's see. We might be able to get to G's. All right, Fozzie Bear. Fozzie Bear Waka Waka was in Muppet Babies. He was more of one of my favorite characters in Muppet Babies. Always tried to tell jokes and throw tomatoes and like a comedian kind of deal. So Fozzie was fun. Let's have Fozzie up here for now. All right, Francine. Francine is from American Dad. I didn't watch that show a ton. It's like a Family Guy looking show. But she's a good wife character, has her own personality, strong, doesn't just like let her husband slide by, even though he's a military guy or a government guy, spy kind of deal. So she has funny relationships with people. I'd have Francine. Let's see who else I have around here. I like her. I'll have her right around Callie here. Fred Flintstone, classic character. I think I mentioned this on the villains one. It was funny because he was on Harvey Birdman as like a villain, like pretending to be nice, but was a villain, like a mob guy. But Fred Flintstone from the Flintstones, as we know, he's a likable character. Is he my favorite? Probably not. So like I'd have him around Barney, around there. And I will say I like Barney probably better than Betty. He's funny. He's got more to his character, I think, in the show. All right, then we have Fred. Fred Jones. That sounds too generic, but it might be right. Fred Jones from Scooby-Doo. Fred Jones is a good character to have on the show. I'm not going to like watch a show because of Fred, but Fred's good, and I'm going to have him in the Barely Not Awesome category. I'm going to have him maybe around Droopy. Helps to solve it. Brave. He's a good guy to have there. Patient. Scooby and Shaggy. All right, back to She-Ra, Frosta. And you're like, oh no, here we go. Another kind of trash person. Not true, because I remember Frosta. Frosta is the one who flirts all the time with He-Man and embarrasses him. Has a cool voice. I like Frosta. So Frosta, I will have in the cool enough category as an homage to her powers. Do I like her more than some of these other characters? Not really. But I could see her being around Bengali. Fry. Fry is from Futurama, main character, just kind of the dopey dude that ends up in the future, trying to figure stuff out. He's fine. I've got him in the Barely Not Awesome category. I do like him. But I don't remember enough of the show to like elevate him any higher than that. All right, Frylock. This is another problem where I did not see Aqua Teen Hunger Force enough. I've seen enough to know the characters and to get a sense of their personalities. He's the kind of wise, mean, dude, cool looking. Show's hilarious. I need to watch it. I just haven't sat down and taken the time. But Frylock's one of my favorites on that show. And I'd probably have him around. Let's just throw him there for now, next to Blade. Okay, Furball. Furball from Tiny Toons. I don't remember much about Furball, to be honest, so I'm going to kind of have him in the don't really care about section. He's cute. He's fine. I don't remember what his plot points were or if he was trying to do anything. All right, Gadget. Gadget is in Chippendale's Rescue Rangers. I always like Gadget. Gadget goes up there with these guys, and I'm going to split them up because I like Gadget. Um, Tried to make stuff, was like an inventor. Good relationship with like Monterey Jack. We haven't got to him. And what, Zipper? The little guy? So yeah, I like Gadget. All right, Gaia. Gaia from Captain Planet. Haven't watched that in a while, but she's like the one who, she's Earth. I mean, that's Gaia, but it's like, I don't remember if she's the one that made the rings or just owns the rings or distributed the ring, whatever it is. Anyway, I did like Gaia. It wasn't like, oh gosh, here comes Gaia. She was fine. It was cool enough. You can be lame, really lame with some of those characters sometimes, but I liked Gaia. Kind of like a Doctor Star or a Commander Stargazer. So we're just gonna, and you know what? I like Gaia a little bit better. So I'm gonna put it right there. All right, this is Power Girl. Why is she here? Why is she here? Because her name's Galatia, I think, on the show. Starts out as like a clone. She's not good. She turns good in Justice League, and she's fine. It wasn't like my favorite character, but she's fine. I would have her right around here, and I'd probably have these guys above Val. Okay. Gambit, tricky one. Tricky one. Gambit, cool character sometimes. Cool character on X-Men animated series. Kind of always wondered why his powers didn't do more, because I was like, dude, you can like put your hand on stuff and infuse energy, and you're just throwing playing cards, and like, I guess it makes it heavy to throw, because otherwise wouldn't it just float around like a playing card? Wouldn't you want like marbles or something? Anyway, X-Men 97 made this dude matter, and made him really cool. And so it was an awesome take, I think, on Gambit, that propelled him a little bit to my awesome category. Uh, Maybe a little more toward the bottom with like these guys. Let's split up the time travelers. But yeah, Gambit was pretty cool there. All right, Garfield from Garfield and Friends. Um, Garfield and Friends had Garfield in the Garfield part. Garfield, like Odie, John were the three main, and then like Nermal would come in. But the dynamic was always interesting to me, because like John would speak English and just talk. Odie couldn't talk but would just bark. And then Garfield would talk like you were hearing him, but he would never move his mouth, right? So it's like we were in Garfield's head um, in the show, but you could also see John. Anyway, Garfield was awesome. I liked him a lot on that show, and I know he's a comic before, but he's a character I really enjoyed, and we may move those around. But he always had that dynamic of like being frustrated with Odie, but loving Odie, and uh, wanted to eat all the time. And you know, John would take care of him and all that. So Garfield was cool. I like Garfield a lot. All right, Gene. Gene is from Bob's Burgers, and Gene is the son. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. He loves to try to play music and uses his keyboard to make songs, you know, and it's like what you would think a teenage kid would make, or it's just fart noises and stuff. Um, but Gene is like, he has a great dynamic with the two sisters, and then even with the parents. But he's not my favorite character on the show. He has some good plots and fun things, but he reminds me of Chris a little bit. I do like him a little bit more than Chris, so I'm going to put him in the don't really care about section. That might be a little unfair to him because I like the show, but he's okay. This is Geoforce. Geoforce is from Young Justice. He's like kind of a more important character because he's royalty in some made up country. Uh, Ends up being royalty or something. I can't remember if he turns bad or something. Something happens with him that he's got more of a story than just being bland. But I'd probably have him around Galatia here. Cool enough character, has foreign accent, like a Russian sounding, Eastern European, I would say, accent. We have George Jetson. George Jetson is like Fred Flintstone, a classic character. But the difference is, I like George Jetson. He was my favorite character on the show. And he, I don't know why, but he just had a little bit more of a person. I like the Jetsons more than the Flintstones for some reason. Gerald Broflovsky. I never liked Gerald Broflovsky as a character, and it was always kind of like, oh gosh, a Gerald episode. But he got better as the show got on, and he had an episode, especially the one that's pictured here, where he really was great. So he moved up a little bit in my book from some of his earlier days on the show. I'll have Gerald in the cool enough category, kind of by Cleveland, and maybe just below Cleveland and a little above Angela. All right, this is Guy from Captain Planet. They come from all over the planet. Makes sense. She's Asian. Controls water, if I recall. Don't remember much about her distinct personality, so I'll have her as cool enough. Probably above, like Copper Kid. That's fine. But yeah, I just remember that I think she controlled water. What was his name? Gizmo Duck. Gizmo Duck? And I always struggled to remember, was this DuckTales or Darkwing Duck? I think it was Darkwing Duck. It might have been both, to be honest, and I don't know. But either way, Gizmo Duck, I remember being the cool robot, like, guy that had gadgets and stuff that come out of him. So I liked Gizmo Duck. He wasn't, I don't remember a ton about him otherwise, but I'd have him like up in the higher version of cool enough. Let's just have him right above Ace. All right, we have Gladiator, whose name is actually like, what is it? Calark? Yeah, Calark, which I learned the other day, and that's a combination of Kal-El and Clark Kent, Superman. But this is Marvel, and this is Gladiator, so it was an homage to DC, but it's a from the X-Men cartoon as well as X-Men 97, where he has a part to play. Gladiator was barely not awesome to me. I liked the character. I liked his power. He came in and just like knocked Juggernaut out of nowhere and then got his butt kicked just after by Phoenix. Let's have Gladiator kind of in here. We'll see. All right, this is I'm gonna get close, but I don't know if it's exact. It's Gleek from the Wonder Twins. So you had the Wonder Twins in Super Friends. They combine their powers, and I'm gonna turn into this, and I'm gonna turn into a couch. Okay, it's like that was their powers. So I don't know what his purpose was. He was one I didn't really care about. I wouldn't say he was trash. He just kind of was there. Similar to Blip or whatever the heck this guy was. I can't remember his name either. But I liked him a little bit more. He at least had a funny laugh. All right, combine two here. Gloop and Gleep. They kind of go together. Herculoids. I liked them on Herculoids. They only talk like wow, 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 I think. I don't think they have voices. But I'll have them in my Barely Not Awesome category. I thought they were fun. Put them at the bottom of it. They could like mold themselves into whatever and like Mr. Fantastic themselves around kind of deal. Little blobs. All right, Glenn Quagmire. Again, questionable hero protagonist, but does have his own storylines and things that matter. And Glenn is a classic character from Family Guy. I probably have him. Let's start him out in the Barely Not Awesome, but he might move up. He's got a lot of funny stuff in his repertoire with his giggities and all that. All right. Is this like Glitterina or something? I cannot remember. And this might be the one. Yeah, no, Flutterina was definitely the one I didn't like. And I think this was maybe Glitterina, who I liked a little bit more, but don't really care about. Um, I feel like she was like a little sassier. I mean, you could see it in the picture, but also wasn't like didn't know things and was trying to like learn stuff for some reason. Anyway, didn't really care about her. It's not to say they aren't like cool characters within the show. They probably serve their purpose, like having an episode about them and She-Ra, which I do like She-Ra the character. We'll get to her, but we'll get there. Oh, I did include the God Pigeon. So from Animaniacs, this is the God Pigeon. He is the Don, if you will, of the God Pigeons, which you couldn't understand what he was saying. He just, it was a take on Marlon Brando from The Godfather, and he just talked like this. You can't understand anything. But I liked him, and I'll have him in my cool enough category as well. I know that these two middle categories get big, but they're going to be big. I liked him a pretty good bit. Let's just ride Blow Battle Cat. Go-Go from Tiny Toons. He's funny. He takes him to like this weird world. I don't know if it's like Go-Go Land or whatever it was, but it's something different he's from. Had like a portal to get there. He wasn't my favorite. He was fine. But I wasn't like, oh, I'm glad to see Go-Go around. But I wouldn't say it was like, oh, I don't want to see him. So I'll have him low there. All right. We're at Goku. I think I can get through the G's here. Where do the G's end? Oh, yeah. It's this line here, Gus. Goku, Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super main protagonist. I like Goku a ton. He's going to be in the Supreme, probably, if not the GOAT. I do have my annoyances with him, but they're like supposed to be there, right? Which is you play with your food. You're like challenging yourself. It's like, okay, the world's getting ready to be destroyed, but hey, I think, I want you to get stronger so I can kick your butt when you're stronger. It's like, dude, just finish a guy off. We've been doing this for 50 episodes. That gets annoying. Plus, he's naive and dumb. And so, like, fortunately, he's got Chi-Chi, who's his wife, who's smart and educates their kids. So their kids are smart and stuff. Goku's not the sharpest tool in the shed. But I loved Goku from Dragon Ball, from his original Dragon Ball years. That's where, to me, really, he's at his best. Just a personal opinion. All right, Goliath. Goliath is the leader of the Gargoyles, the father of Angela, I believe. He is a great leader. I'd have him in the awesome category. Let's have him like around Cable. Didn't watch the show enough. Don't have like the specific memories, but do remember him like waiting till the sun come up and his giant wings are out and they freeze on the building. I do remember that. Gonzo from Muppet Babies. Gonzo is always a fun one with the Muppets, and it's a little bit of like a Daffy Duck kind of deal with Gonzo. I like Gonzo a lot, and I'll put him in the barely not awesome category as well, just below like Fozzie. Okay, this is I'm gonna get her name wrong. Gosselin? I think it's Gosselin. Maybe I didn't get it wrong. Darkwing Duck, it's like the little friend who helps a little bit like Penny and Inspector Gadget. She's fine. She's cute. She's good on the show. I'd probably have her like Flim Flam down here. It's nice to have that other personality in his world. So it's good. Goten. Goten is the second son of Goku. So he looks like a little Goku. He is and I should say like one that you won't see in here because I couldn't get the picture. We'll try to get later is Gohan, the other one, to load. So Goten is the younger one. Goten was fine. He was real close friends with the young Trunks. And they fused together. They trained together. They're like, he's a lot like his dad, where he's fun and just rambunctious and aggressive to like fight. Which he's fine. I don't think he's like my favorite. I'd have him maybe around Dende here. Granny from Tweety and Looney Tunes. So she's obviously trying to like broker Sylvester and Tweety and all that, and she's a fun character. She's also on like Space Jam, right? No, it's not a cartoon show, but it's a movie. But Granny is a fun character. I like Granny. I will have Granny. Let's see. Let's put Granny kind of by just below Bill. All right, Green Arrow. Green Arrow's in Justice League Unlimited. I like Green Arrow. He's a cool character. Oliver Queen. I'll have him in the Barely Not Awesome category by his girlfriend. And then I'm going to have them both just above Black Lightning. The only reason is like Black Lightning, I remember him getting in like a kind of mopey stage as well, a little like Beast Boy below, where I'm like, dude, go back to being yourself. Gretchen from Recess. So Gretchen was the like dorky girl. She was fine. I liked her fine. So I will have her in this category here of cool enough. All right, Grimlock. Grimlock from Transformers. Always talked like me Grimlock, do this. Was often in his Tyrannosaurus Rex kind of look, but he also turned into a robot. He was great on the movie, but in the show they started out kind of mean. They had to get controlled, and then but they played a big role in like fighting a lot of the fights. And I like Grimlock a lot as a character, and I'm going to have him as a Supreme up here as well. All right. Grouchy Smurf. I remember Grouchy more than some of the others because he was always like, gosh, you guys are so annoying and this is ridiculous. And you start to sympathize with that a little bit more as you get older. I'll have Grouchy Smurf a little bit higher than the other Smurfs, and I'll have him just below Elroy. Okay, a couple more here. Okay, this is, oh man, is it Gridlock or Gridiron or Grid something? I remember him. I remember because he has the tattoo on his chest, but I can't quite remember his name. It might come to me. But anyway, I do remember him, and I will have, he's very similar to me to these guys up here, Bazooka, and he's a little more, he's a little cooler than Bazooka to me. Okay, Gus. Gus was on similar to Gretchen. I like Gus a little bit more. They were on Recess. He was nice guy, smart kid, those kind of things. So, all right, that gets us through the G's. We'll stop there. It's about another hour, a little over an hour or so. So we're still pretty light on our goats and Supreme. We've got a decent amount of awesomes, some barely not awesomes. Some of these may move up, but Cool Enough's getting pretty big. Don't care about in the kind of trash. So making progress, but we will start with the H's when we come back next time.